Welcome to the Smyers and Ryan podcast. Well, we'll start off with the first game, which is a good one. Knicks Celtics. Celtics won by 13. Tatum 1 assist shy of a triple double. Celtics led as many as 27 in the third quarter, and Tatum not getting calls throughout the midway through the third quarter kind of started to stop the team from playing good basketball. They turned over the ball. They missed a lot of shots, and the Knicks cut it all the way down to 4 to start the fourth quarter. But then the Celtics put their foot down, led by Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and others. And the Celtics again dominate the Knicks, who are now 0-6 against OKC, Cleveland, and Boston combined.
Yeah, that's big for the Knicks. I mean, not being able to beat those teams, it's definitely gonna be costly. And look at their record after that one, 37-20, 17-10 on the road. So not bad, obviously, but that they needed that game. It felt like against the Celtics, and they weren't able to get it. Boston at the time was able to keep that win streak going.
And it looks like the Celtics will be locked into the 2 seed, and the Knicks will be locked into the 3 seed, which means they're destined to play each other in the second round, unless the Pistons could smack around the Knicks. Because that looks like that's going to be the matchup potentially also.
Yeah, and that could be an interesting matchup. I mean, the Pistons and the Knicks. I mean, we'll talk a little bit later about the last game for the Celtics against Detroit. Detroit's going to be an interesting team definitely to watch in the playoffs for sure.
Yep. But, yeah, Detroit is definitely an odd team because, they broke the losing streak record last year. 28 games, I believe it was. And Scalabrine, the broadcast guy, the former Celtics legend, the White Mamba, said, these guys, I didn't understand how they were so bad last year. Whenever they played us, they almost beat us in the Garden last year and went to overtime. And, they have Cade Cunningham. Jaden Ivey's obviously hurt. Jalen Duren's 22 years old, but he looks like he's 45 with his shoulders.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Stewart, he's a tough MFer. There's a lot of other guys on this team that are really good, like Sar Thompson. But, now they're really putting it together. J.B. Bickerstaff, definitely good coach. Kind of awkward. Usually when you fire a coach, like the Cavs did, and get a new coach, and he's a good coach, Atkinson, whatever his name is, he's a really good coach for the Cavs, clearly, because what they're doing right now. And J.B. Bickerstaff is still a really good coach because he's got the Pistons in the playoffs right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and they're having a great year, especially, as you said, after last year where they were horrible in many ways. But
they still had a good roster. They're just too young, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
coach around Monte Morris.
Yeah.
But Knicks, Celtics ended up winning. The Knicks look like a good team, not a great team. They're not in the tier with Boston, Cleveland, OKC. So let's move on to our second game. Celtics beat the Raptors 111-101. And this is an odd game because there's only 2 active centers on the roster. They're in the rotation. Tillman, you can count him as a power forward, a center, whatever you want. He's more of a power forward to me. But they didn't start either of the centers. So the starting lineup for the Celtics was Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Unk status, swerve in the corner low. Torrey Craig, the new guy. And he was really bad in this game. Torrey Craig was. Not really. He shot over 5 from 3 when he's been a really good shooter throughout his career. There's some defensive mistakes he made because he doesn't play with the guys. These guys haven't played with each other for freaking years. And it was enough for them to get the win. Luke Cornett and Jaylen Brown Luke Cornett was out. Porzingis was out. Horford was out. Porzingis was a late scratch, second before tip-off. He was labeled as out.
Yeah.
That's the third time this year for the Celtics where that has happened. Tatum in Orlando, then Porzingis, I believe, did it somewhere else throughout the season. I forget which game it was, though. But, yeah, it was definitely an interesting game to watch the teams playing without centers. Much more space. You can get to any spot you want. And defense is definitely a lot tougher because you got to guard all shooting and speed. What are your takeaways from the 6-game winning streak? Because that was that got it to 6-game wins in a row. How important this means to this team after playing bad in January.
I think it, as you said, I think it was big for the Celtics to be able to kind of get their foot back on the gas, kind of get back in stride. We're obviously almost in March now, so you really have about a month and a half left before the playoffs start. So I think it's going to be big, to see how they do down the stretch. Obviously, that was a good stretch certainly for them. It was kind of from December into January was kind of a rough patch for the team.
Yeah.
Even in that rough patch was that loss at Toronto
Yeah.
earlier on. I think it was back in January. So, it was good to see them get the win. Kind of an overall, as you said, with the center situation, kind of an ugly game, but they still came out on top relatively easily by 10. But yeah, I mean, the closer you get to the playoffs, the more important it's going to be to try to start playing well. And I think the Celtics, we've talked about a lot on the podcast for the first few episodes how they kind of seem to be a team that is, they'll like flip the switch on kind of when they need to, and it seems like that's what they were doing certainly during that 6-game streak.
Yeah, I was wrong about the starting lineup. Drew Holiday was also out for this game, so it was Sam Hauser starting at small forward, Tatum at the forward, Craig at center, White at point guard, and Brown at the two guard.
And that's obviously not your usual starting five. So I mean, you'll usually see those guys obviously off the bench, but so still being able to go on the road and get the win, that's big. I mean, obviously Toronto's not a good team, but
Scal says
you'll
they're
take
a
it.
lot like Scal likes the Raptors.
Mm.
He's a big Jakob Poeltl fan, and who didn't play in this game. He was out. He's their center, and he's killed us every single game this year. Like, it's bad. And Scal says that this team. You said this and it kind of resonated with me. I'm like, yeah, I can kind of. This team is a really good roster. They have defenders all across the board. They have the shooters. They have the star power in Scotty Barnes. They have all these things. Like, they could go on a Pistons-like run next year and potentially push for a playoff or play-in spot, while it feels like they're years behind from how they're playing.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely see them in that spot next year, much like the Pistons were a year ago. Especially if they get I mean, not saying they will, but if they get like a coaching change or something like that in the offseason.
I like their coach. Do you know their coach?
No, actually, I don't.
He's European. He's like, I don't know his exact name, but he's like European. He has a very thick accent. He loves Jason Tatum.
Look him up on here.
He got memed last year for being like, how does Scotty Barnes get no calls? This is ridiculous. He's one of the faces of the NBA.
Oh, he's Serbian. Interesting.
Yeah.
Darko.
Yeah, that's it.
Rajakovic.
Yeah, he's from. Do you know who else from Serbia? Nikola Jokic.
Oh, Jokic. Yeah, I knew. Yeah,
basketball place, I guess.
Yeah. Some of Eastern Europe. Yeah, there's some basketball
everywhere though, really.
Yeah.
Basketball's such a universally taught and known sport because you can just pick up a ball and play anywhere.
Yeah.
Not like football where you have to get like the pads, you got to get like multiple people to guard you and you got to get someone to throw the ball to you.
Yeah. I mean, you could play two-hand touch football, but that's all you could do without pads, obviously.
Yeah, but basketball, you could just play by yourself.
Yeah,
Pause.
That's true.
Okay. Well, anything else from this game? Tatum
Brown
did have 9 assists in the first half.
Yeah, Brown 24 points, 10 for 18.
Pritchard 20, I believe.
Yeah.
Pritchard was a pretty big part of this game.
Yeah, look at the full box score here.
Especially because the last couple of games, when they want ball pressure on the star players, no matter how big they are, like it's a 6'8" Scotty Barnes, they put Peyton Pritchard on him to go bother him.
Yeah.
And it works usually.
Yeah, Pritchard did have 20 in that game. Derek White, 22.
Yeah.
Tatum, 19. Hauser with 10.
Tatum, 19, but with 11 assists.
Yeah, 11 assists. Yep.
He wasn't really looking to score too much in this game.
No.
He was passing. They're really trying to. Scotty Barnes was getting in his face in that first half. He was like, Scotty Barnes would score and be like clapping in his face, and then it was like, or on defense he'd clap in his face, and on offense he'd scream at him and call it like it was definitely Scotty Barnes' balls.
Yeah.
And they took the L, but they took a lot of L's this year. But yeah, I believe that this was not a high-profile win, obviously, but a good win. You just lost in Toronto.
Yeah.
Extended to 6. 6-game winning streak. That's a good. If you just start, even with the loss, we're about to talk about the Pistons. If you win 6, lose 1, win 6, you're in a great spot.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's 12 and 2 over 14 if that happens. So yeah, I mean that's obviously great.
I played basketball and football at the same time, very young. I played football 2 years earlier though, and I played, and I became an NFL fan a little earlier than an NBA fan, and the NBA thing where like you can lose a game so bad it looks miserable and it doesn't matter. Well, in the NFL, if you lose a game, like if you lose 3 games in a row, your season might be over.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because you only get one chance a week, so
Yeah.
you know, yeah, definitely 3 in a row that can hurt your playoff spot if you're in the playoff race at that point.
The
And then
Celtics, who like won the championship with ease last year. No real push to get them out. They lost 18 games in the
yeah,
regular season.
yeah,
You lose 18 games in the regular season of the NFL. You're the Cleveland Browns.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, at least right now it's not impossible. I mean, you got what 17 games. They're talking about pushing it to 18, which I don't know how. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that. I know why they're probably trying to do it, but
Are they gonna take away the 7th seed and then say 18 games?
maybe, yeah. I think I've always thought in the NFL like they should have it the way they had it before,
They should
which is
keep it 16. Yeah.
just 6 teams from each side. Maybe the first 2 get the bye. Maybe you can still keep it like the first team only gets the bye, but
Yeah,
I
but
don't
then you
know.
have to have a 7th seed.
Yeah,
That's how the math works. I mean, you could do like.
well that's true.
I think
Yeah,
it'd be fun if they do like change division winners
yeah,
or whatever, or they have like. This is completely off the top of my head. I'm not thinking straight, but like imagine if they have like tiebreakers, like a bye week in between the playoffs, where it's like okay, the Vikings who are 14-3 or whatever
hmm
are gonna go play the Rams, and those guys. This could decide who's gonna get a home playoff game.
yeah,
It sounds stupid, but
yeah, yeah. It might be interesting though, and I mean, especially when you consider how I think kind of rough the wild card weekend games have typically been over the last few years. Like,
still they're fun though. It's like a road. It's a road to glory. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a journey, part of the journey.
yeah. No, I mean you still need the wild card weekend, so I'm not saying obviously get rid of it,
And
but
the playoffs are awesome this year.
yeah,
The wild cards, like obviously some of them are blowouts. That Commanders Bucks game was a good game. I missed the Packers Eagles game. I said I think earlier in the podcast, in other podcasts, but yeah, the divisional round was very good.
yeah.
And
The
it's-
Rams Eagles game that was good.
And then like even like a good fashion punch in the face like the Eagles did to the Chiefs. That was really entertaining. Still, that they
Yeah,
it was like in shock. It was like this is, and you're also waiting kind of for the Chiefs to kind of come back because they got the mythical Patrick Mahomes, who's
Mhm.
like the same as Brady nowadays.
yeah. Or at least certain people say that. But,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean he's not greater than Brady like all time, but like when it comes to coming back in football games and always giving your team a chance, there's only one guy that's kind of closest to
Mhm.
Tom Brady, and that's Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I mean of this era, like he's kind of that. He's definitely the best quarterback of this era easily. So
Yeah.
it's like not a question there, but
But yeah, let's talk about the tragedy of the Pistons game,
Mm.
the Smyers Eve of my birthday. And I watched this game halftime by myself. They were down, started the game down 13-2. They looked like how they did in January, where it's like they're shooting shots and it's like they're missing all of them, and it's like they look at the crowd like, "What do you want us to do? We're just missing.
yeah,
We're not going in. What do you want us to do?"
yeah,
It's like they're not playing great defense. Kristaps Porzingis, who missed. This is the second night of a back-to-back. The day after they played Toronto, they went to Detroit.
that's true. That's always tough going back to back nights.
Joe
like,
Mazzulla's era, though, the 3-year era he's been here, though, they've been amazing on back-to-backs.
That's true. Yeah,
Like they were, I believe, like 15-1 or 14-2 on second nights of back-to-backs last year.
Mm.
They're also very good in 2023 also, and throughout the 3 years they've rested Al Horford on every second night.
yeah,
So Porzingis, they like switching on back-to-backs. They like playing Porzingis usually the first game throughout this season, and Al the second game. That's what that's what they're gonna do. But Porzingis got sick before the Toronto game, so they both ended up playing against Detroit, and it's like that's perfect.
yeah,
Brown got hurt in the Raptors game. It was like some type of a bruise on his hip, and he missed this game, which you felt that Cornette's still out for personal reasons.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, not having Brown in there felt big. And I mean, you just look at, you talked about they got down 13-2. They were down 29-20 after the first
And who's
quarter.
their tone setter? That's Jaylen Brown. He's a Mr. First Quarter for us.
Yeah. Yeah, not having him is huge. And then but even with that, I mean, you still look they outscored Detroit there in that second quarter
Yeah.
also by 9. So the game was tied at halftime.
Pritchard White and Al Horford. Horford started 0 for 4, but they all just started. We're down by like 15 midway through the second, and they just started smacking threes. Look at our 3-point shot percentage.
Yeah.
When you shoot that from 3, you can't lose.
Oh,
But
yeah.
But they still found a way to lose by 20. They shot like 21 for 46 or something, was it?
Yeah. Well, they finished the night, yeah, with 42.9 from 3-point land. Detroit was 39.4. But I mean, we also won the turnover battle 19 or no, sorry, we lost.
Yeah.
Night
No,
we
no, no.
turned it
The
over.
turnovers were we like Tatum had 4 in the first half.
Yeah.
They were calling offensive fouls. They were like it was a rough turnover day. Definitely, it was just sloppy all around. They're back in the Garden tonight. They're gonna be overlooking Detroit for Cleveland. Because I'm
Mm.
not scared of Detroit. I'd love to match up against Detroit in the first round. I hope they fall to the play-in.
Yeah.
I don't want to play Atlanta. Atlanta owns us for some reason. I have no idea why they own us.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be just a matchup thing. I don't know. Sometimes
But the
you see
matchups
that.
are favorable for us. It's Trae Young.
Yeah.
So the Celtics, they play a killer whale offense, which means they're going to find a killer whale. You know what killer whale is? The
Yeah.
mindset of a killer whale.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
looking for the target.
Yep.
The target is Trae Young on defense. So they will find. They're so good at getting, even before they got Porzingis, Brown and Tatum on the mismatch from off-ball screens, them screening for them. Just straight up pick and rolls with like Derek White or whatever. Like now they have Porzingis, so they have 3 guys that can try to get Trae Young on, and for some reason they just can't beat Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's a great mystery there. I don't exactly know why they haven't really been able to so far, but yeah, definitely I wouldn't worry as much about the Pistons game. I mean, obviously you don't
Yeah.
want to lose by double digits, especially by 20. But tonight, as you said, we have a good matchup with Cleveland coming into Boston. Should be a fun one.
Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, and Luke Cornett are all questionable. Luke Cornett being questionable is a good sign for this game because he's out. Usually when it says you're out for personal reasons, I mean something happened to a relative, so hopefully he's okay.
Could be bereavement, yeah, that kind of thing.
And yeah, so if he's questionable, usually that means he will play tonight. And Jaylen Brown, you felt it on both ways, but I promise you, if Luke Cornett was in the game, how bad Porzingis was, you still might win this game with Cornett and how good he's been this year. They have to find a way to bring him back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Celtics, Cavs, too, we've seen some really good matchups throughout this year. I mean, I think a lot of people think, too, probably rightfully, that, it'll be the Eastern Conference final matchup going into the spring. I know you've always said you don't, though, but
I don't know, because I feel like the East still isn't that good. Like, the Cavs is the same roster as last year. We dismantled the Cavs last year.
Yeah.
Well, no, now they have DeAndre Hunter at their small forward. DeAndre Hunter's really good. They have Max Strus, we beat him last year. But yeah, I think the Cavs will somehow find a way. It could be the Celtics always find a way to play the Pacers in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Always.
Every year.
What I'm striving to be is to be a reporter. All the reporters every single year in the playoffs I hear them talk. I am so tired of going to Indiana.
Yeah.
Why do we have to go to Indiana again every single year? It's Indiana and Miami that they're tired of going to.
Yeah,
because it's tired of going to Miami.
No, yeah. I'd much rather go to Miami than Indiana, but Indianapolis, but yeah, I mean,
last year when they went, they had the races.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. The conference finals. And Brad Stevens is from Indiana also. So
yeah.
Always going home.
Yeah, I mean Indiana's obviously a basketball state, so the Hoosiers, the Larry Bird history, Indiana State.
Colts are the big Colts fans there.
Yeah, Indianapolis. Yeah, but I mean back on I think it was February 4th. That was the last time Celtics faced the Cavs, and that was in Cleveland.
Yeah.
They beat them 112-105. So.
And the score, that was a game where nobody could make a single shot, but both defenses were very locked in. So the reason why the Cavs have been so good this year, it goes back to last year. Darius Garland was disappointing and injured a lot of that year. Evan Mobley didn't match up well with. It looks like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen weren't a good match as a big man combo, and Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were not a good match as a guard combo, but they're still a talented roster.
Yeah.
So they still got the 4 seed, lost to the Celtics. This year, they look like they know how to play together. Evan Mobley has gone off. Darius Garland has gone off this season. And they are locked in for this game. You want to know how they're locked in for this game? It's a freaking NBA, and they have no injuries on their report. It's none available. It's March, right? It's February 20.
Yeah, basically March. Yeah.
Like they want this win. The last time they're in the Garden, it was for the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
Game, and we ended up winning by, I think it was like a point or 2.
3, I believe. Yeah, 3, because.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't
3.
that close though.
One
The Cavs,
120, 117.
so that you know how the in-season tournament works, right?
Yeah,
The
I think so,
scoring,
yeah.
the scoring, what matters, like the point differential matters.
Mhm.
So like you'll see teams like shoot like shots when the game's already over to try to score to make the point differential a little better.
Yeah.
So the Cavs made it. It was like we won by like 8 or 7. It was convincing, and then like the Cavs are like 2 seconds left. Let's put up a 3 and try to steal a ball and go for a layup
Yeah.
and make it 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, at least so far, this matchup has obviously favored the Celtics too this
and the one
season.
game they lost, they didn't have Jaylen Brown or Derek White.
No, and they only lost it by 4. I mean,
they were up the whole game.
115,
They were
111.
They were
Yeah.
up the whole game. They're the fourth quarter. Donovan Mitchell didn't miss one shot. He shot 7 for 7 or whatever. Look that up.
Yeah.
You can to the fourth quarter stats. I remember watching this game at in my dorm in Holloway at the time, and I was like, the only way we lose this game in my head, if Donovan Mitchell does what he does against the Celtics all the time, he averages 30 against the Celtics, and hits every single shot. We look so good right now.
Yeah.
Please. And he just started doing his nasty step back. He's like one of the shiftiest players I've ever seen. Step back 3, like hit like every single one, and they were all so well guarded. I'd never been so not pissed after a loss because I didn't know what they could have done better.
Yeah.
Like they couldn't have done anything better. It felt like Tatum missed a layup, left-handed layup. To pretty much seal the game though. That could have maybe gave you hope for overtime, but
Yeah, and I mean, Donovan Mitchell, you talked about him, 35. He ended up having 35 points that game, 12, 21
I think
for
he
the
had like 4 going in the first half.
Yeah, he was, yeah. And in that fourth quarter, I mean, Cleveland got 43, scored 43 points. 43 to 27, they outscored the Celtics in that fourth quarter.
I think it was like 25 of Donovan Mitchell or something. It was something crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, because he
belted
finished
the
with
game.
35, yeah.
It was eye test. It was numbers. It was Donovan Mitchell just turns into Michael Jordan when he plays against the Celtics. I see him play against other teams, and it's like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, Jared Allen are the reason they're winning, not really Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Like Donovan Mitchell's like the scary thing about this. Donovan Mitchell's so explosive that like sometimes in the playoffs he gets hurt because he's so explosive and he runs out of gas. He's saving himself, and they're still like 46 and 48 and 10.
Yeah.
Like he's saving himself. So like if Garland and Mobley, I expect them to go back down to where they should be during the playoffs when other teams play harder because they're young guys. How it works in the NBA. So in the regular season, young guys, they'll play hard no matter what. The older veterans, they won't play as hard. Once the playoffs come up, the older veterans start playing harder.
Yeah.
And now it gets a little bit it's a little different now.
Yeah.
So Mobley and Garland are going to feel Al Horford and coming at them.
Yeah.
If they do match up like last year. But yeah, I think if Donovan Mitchell is like 100% for the playoffs, full go, then like it's gonna be. Even if Evan Mobley and Garland go down, Donovan Mitchell could honestly carry them to the conference finals.
Yeah.
I don't think past the Celtics. It's hard. It's too hard for. People don't give Peyton Pritchard any credit for playing defense. He's a good defender.
Yeah.
You got Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Peyton Pritchard. You got 3 Derek Whites. That's what that group is. 3 Derek Whites. The perfect player. That's there.
Yeah.
I have a picture on my phone of Derek White's face over Jesus' face.
Oh, jeez.
Because he's basketball Jesus. But yeah. I think that's all we can do. How long was that? How long was the pod?
23 minutes.
Damn, what?
Yeah.
I think I did 20 plus minutes. It was 20 minutes when I put the contract in.
Yeah.
20 plus.
All right. That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.